Propaganda being doled out to the American people by the United States Office of War Information and World War I's Committee on Public Information, steps were taken by Congress to ensure that the American people would not be affected by a compromised State Department that could easily twist the information being told to the American people for foreign political gain. Congressional committee members were leery of the State Department because, as House Rules Committee Chairman Eugene Cox said, the State Department was chock full of Reds. The Congress of 1948 called for a house cleaning of some folks in the State Department to keep only those people whose first loyalty is to the United States. Fast forward to the Congress in June of 2016, and New World Order propaganda is pouring right out of the State Department in order to complete the New World Order agenda in Eurasia. Kurt Nimmo writes, advocates of illegal military intervention in Syria to force out Bashar al-Assad signed an internal memo protesting the current Obama administration policy, according to a report posted by the Wall Street Journal. The memo, sent by more than 50 rank-and-file officials, calls for a judicious use of standoff and air weapons, which would undergird and drive a more focused and hard-nosed U.S.-led diplomatic process. It was sent through the Dissent channel at the State Department. In addition to increased military intervention by the United States, the memo calls for more support for moderate rebel forces fighting against the Syrian government. There are currently few, if any, moderate rebels in Syria. The Free Syrian Army and the other so-called moderate rebels have functioned largely as a public relations front, while the actual fighting is done by al-Nusra and other jihadi groups supported by Saudi Arabia. And now the sycophantic talking heads are following suit, ignoring the monstrous jihad landing on American shores under the cloak of the Obama administration and blaming Donald Trump for ISIS, the one candidate just as concerned about the coming caliphate as a majority of the American people.
The thing about Trump, though, is that he's the recruiter in chief. He is
for ISIS.
He is basically working with ISIS to kill us. They are working together. Every time you go after the Muslims and you talk about how they shouldn't come into the country and how they're all a bunch of whatevers, you are saying to ISIS, make another video to show people who are sympathetic to your cause. And don't think they haven't made many videos showing Donald Trump. He is a dangerous menace to the country.
I'm sorry, Ms. Behart. Obama has brought in over 1 million Muslims during his time in office. And according to a Pew Research poll, 60% of Muslim Americans under the age of 30, jihad age, are more loyal to Islam than America. And Ms. Behart, if you're ignorant on what that means, just ask a Muslim. But here's former CIA Director Leon Panetta to keep the propaganda moving.
He's not only accusing President of the United States of treason and collaborating with the enemy, but in many ways what he's saying about restricting Muslims from coming into this country, doing surveillance on Muslim mosques, is basically aiding and abetting the enemy at a time when we ought to be unifying, working with the Muslim community to try to protect against future attacks.
As we descend headlong into the final stretch of the presidential election, the InfoWar is heating up like a white-hot fire poker. The New World Order is manning every cannon on its enemy warship of blatant lies, firing on a diminishing population of gullible minds as a growing majority of Americans' eyes are opening to the horrible truth. John Bound for Infowars.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. We're live broadcasting worldwide. I'm your host, Alex Jones, and we are going to be here, obviously, until 3 o'clock Central Standard Time today. If you're watching us on television, just jumped in the shower about 5 minutes ago and slid into my hotel room chair here. My son is a big avid fisherman, and he begs to at least once a year be brought down to the look at my hair if you're a TV viewer, down to the Caribbean, where he can have a chance to catch some bigger fish. He likes to go after the different sailfish, the marlin, stuff like that. And so he just went on a little 6-hour tour today with myself and my father, and he just caught a pretty good size sailfish. In fact, we just tweeted it a few minutes ago there at The Real Alex Jones. And folks might be asking, why are you starting the live part of the broadcast today since you got in 30 minutes late with a story about your son out catching a fish. It's what I discussed last week with Tim Kennedy on there, what I've been talking about. We've got to take time out. And when I preach this, I'm preaching to myself more than anything. I'm the worst. We've got to take time out to be human, to garden, to hunt, to engage in carpentry, to engage in painting, to engage in learning a new language, to engage in going out fishing, and just involving ourselves in normal human activities and just turning the televisions off. In fact, while I'm here with my parents in an undisclosed Caribbean location for the next 3 days, 4 days till I come back, we're just not turning the televisions on. I mean, here I am on television/radio, but we're not turning the televisions on. We're not paying attention to sports. We're not paying attention to anything but the weather and our family, but also tracking what the globalists are doing. There's no way, though, that I can take some R&R and not spend some of my time tracking what the globalists are up to, because they threaten all of human society with the technotronic system that they are, they're establishing and that they're setting up. And again, I'm not really a vain person, but here we are with millions of viewers. And again, I just jumped in the shower now about 10 minutes ago to get the sweat and the sand off of me. But maybe we can put it up on screen for TV viewers too, a shot of the fish my son just caught about an hour and a half ago. But all of that segueing out of that area, I want to get into the serious news here. We live on a beautiful, fantastic planet. And there's so many incredible opportunities for all of our species, obviously. And it's because there's so much good in the world that I'm so aggressive when it comes to defending human freedom. A lot of people think because I'm bitching and complaining and politically involved that I'm a troublemaker, that I am up here only focusing on the negative in this world. And it's the opposite. There's so much good. There's so much just incredible things about our universe and the mysteries of our universe that I am basically trying to defend what I know is good from what we know historically is absolutely patently bad. But I'm an eternal optimist is the reason I'm on air talking about all these serious issues, knowing that the establishment, the social engineers, are doing everything they can to keep you from ever discovering their program. They want you to sleep while they live, to use the allegory of They Live and the sunglasses. And I want people to be alive and awake and conscious. That does not mean seeing my worldview. That does not mean agreeing with everything I have to say. InfoWars is not a cult. It is a shared experience of everyone to challenge the establishment norms and to realize that we're in an information war. There is a war on for our minds. And that by awakening to that fact and just beginning to try to get outside the box or discover what is outside Plato's cave, that we begin to find the wider world, that we begin to be able to basically shatter these paradigms. Buckley's also here with us on a family vacation. And Buckley, I'm sorry, I forgot the passcode on your computer. I was going to surf on it. You're a trooper. Thank you, brother. Again, I slid in here like Wile E. Coyote, you know, where he runs off the cliff and doesn't know that there's no cliff anymore, and he looks back and runs back when we ran out of time getting back in from fishing today. Because Rex was out there fighting that fish and some others. It's just so good to see my son so excited and happy, too, because that's the type of thing he absolutely loves. Okay, but thank you, my friend. But finishing up with all of that, they don't want to compete with outside ideas. The power structure does not want to have to deal with free, sentient, open beings. They'll try to build their own world and follow their own destinies because that'll get in the way of the central planner's plan. And I know more and more, I state that simple fact, but it's also a very transcendent fact that they want to control the future of human development and have us completely shuttered and unaware of what's going on around us. That is profound. Now let's get into the news that we're going to be breaking down today. I knew over a month ago what was going on with Corey Lewandowski, and I'm going to keep my mouth shut. And I didn't just know about it from Roger Stone. I knew about it from other people. The reasons you're seeing in the New York Times, of why Corey Lewandowski was removed as the head of the Trump campaign, he's not all the reasons and is not the main reason. And I don't know if Roger Stone even wants to get into this today. He likes to, take the high road, but he is joining us at the bottom of the next hour to talk about what this means to Trump land. It's a big deal, and he'll be joining us coming up in about 50 minutes from now. Now, separate from that, we are also going to have a lot of other news we're going to be breaking down. There's a 30-minute city council report up on Infowars.com that we're going to play some excerpts of at the start of the next hour that deals with this tragedy. Report: 3 Syrian refugees rape little girl at knife point in Idaho. Furious residents accuse council of cover-up. Now, watching the city council meeting, reading the transcript of it from Twin Falls, it's clear the same thing that's happened in Austin has happened there. Once a bastion of libertarian patriots, it has been overrun by carrion crows or locusts that had already destroyed California that are now moving on to the next apple. Real original Californians are like Texans or other trailblazers, frontier people, big time. You take like Tim Kennedy's family, 5 or 6 generations, out there as farmers in California. I guess going back to people like the 49ers, the gold rush. Those are rugged individualists. But then after people build this paradise, in come all the parasites. They then call themselves Californians. They're really just dumbed down, mindless idiots. And then after they've destroyed you, raised taxes on everybody that produces, and the economy implodes, after all of that unfolds, they then move on to the next target. And that's whatever wealthy, independent area that they haven't been in that's being run by libertarians, constitutionalists, and patriots are. And they come in, they steal all the money in the savings, they jack up the taxes, they destroy the infrastructure, they bring in client groups who they can then manage, who are totally dependent on them to be the new voting bloc and to be the new police and governmental enforcement bloc. This is the new world order migrant plan. And they're reporting that this young girl got grabbed by these people led by a teenager and that they at knife point raped her. This has been covered up in Germany, it's been covered up in Sweden, it's been covered up in France, it's been covered up in Spain, it's been covered up in Portugal, it's been covered up in Greece, it's been covered up in Italy, it's been covered up in the UK. I'm going to quit talking about the cover-ups. We all know about them, from Cologne to London. We've shot video of it ourselves. It is, 6 months ago, they declared a civil emergency on France's roads, just bedlam, carjackings, murder, robberies, death. Just where you're driving along with your family and 500 people just run up and block the road, just grab you out. The men just submit. Everybody just lays down and the raping begins. I mean, these are people from Muslim countries that have collapsed because they're all killing each other then. I mean, this is insane. But what you find in the city council meeting is they've been approving a mosque in a week when they won't even approve someone putting in new windows on their home under Agenda 21 to harass the citizens. So you can't have new windows or fix your barn. It takes months and months and fees and fines and harassment. But the refugees come in, an undetermined secret number, and their mosque is bingo. It's allowed because the Saudis are giving them the money. This is all from the White House through the Saudis, all wired up, all prepared, all set up, all ready. They bring them in. You got people from cultures where if a woman is unattended, whether they be 6 years old or 50, you can gang rape them. And when you gang rape them, later, if they complain about it, they're taken before the High Islamic Council, if it's in Saudi Arabia or other Wahhabist areas, and they are given the death sentence. They are hung or their head is chopped off, or they're given to their families in order to be burned alive. Gasoline is then thrown on them in the backyard, and the father and the sons light her on fire. Now, that's a fact. But it's okay. Homeland Security is editing out the 911 tapes of the mass murderer in Orlando and covering up for his accomplices, saying there's no such thing as Islamic terror. And the 911 tapes will not have him pledging allegiance to ISIS and saying more is coming, jihad, jihad, which the police heard admit is on there, but you're not going to get the chance to hear it because they don't want you to audibly hear him with the threat, we're coming to kill you. Now, again, the reason I'm obsessing over Islamic is because I tried to stop the clash of civilizations. I tried to stop the globalists destabilizing anymore, opening the borders of Europe to it. We knew their plan and doing this. But now we failed that level. Now we're here facing the onslaught.